Sometimes the person who helps you breathe again during your hardest moment is the person who changes your entire life without ever knowing it. Olivia Bennet looked out the airplane window as the city lights disappeared beneath the clouds. She adjusted the small blanket around her 2-year-old daughter, Emma, and quietly hoped the flight would become easier. It had already been a long day. The airport had been crowded. The lines had been exhausting. Emma had been restless since morning, and Olivia felt the familiar weight of trying to handle everything alone. She was used to being strong. She had learned how to carry grocery bags, work responsibilities, and motherhood without asking anyone for help. But sitting in a crowded airplane cabin with a tired child in her arms, she felt a rare moment of uncertainty. Around her, passengers settled into their seats. Some opened laptops. Others put on headphones. Olivia tried to keep Emma comfortable, whispering gentle words as the little girl moved restlessly. "Almost there, sweetheart," she said softly. "We are going to have a quiet flight." But Emma had other plans. The unfamiliar sounds of the airplane, the movement of passengers, and the excitement of traveling made it difficult for her to relax. Olivia looked around and noticed a few impatient expressions nearby. She understood. Everyone had their own destination. Everyone had their own reason for being on the plane. She did not want to become a problem for anyone. A few seats away, a man quietly observed the situation. His name was Alexander Carter. To most people, he was known as the billionaire CEO behind Carter Global, one of the fastest-growing companies in the country. Business magazines described him as focused, disciplined, and impossible to distract. His calendar was usually filled months in advance. His decisions affected thousands of employees. But on this flight, he was not thinking about business. He was simply watching a tired mother trying her best. He noticed something others missed. Olivia was not careless. She was not ignoring her child. She was doing everything she could. There was patience in her voice. There was kindness in every movement. When Emma started becoming more restless, Olivia closed her eyes for a moment and took a quiet breath. Alexander recognized that expression. It was the look of someone who carried more than people could see. Without making a scene, he turned slightly toward her. "Would you like some help?" he asked gently. Olivia looked surprised. She immediately shook her head. "I am okay. Thank you, though." Alexander smiled. "I believe you are. But sometimes even strong people can use a small break." The simple kindness in his voice made her pause. She was used to people offering advice. She was used to people judging. She was not used to someone offering help without expecting anything. After a moment, Olivia carefully allowed Emma to sit closer to him while she adjusted the small bag beside her. She watched closely, still unsure. But something unexpected happened. Emma, who had been restless for most of the flight, slowly became calm. The sound of Alexander's quiet voice and the gentle rhythm of the airplane seemed to comfort her. Within minutes, her small hands relaxed, and she fell asleep peacefully. Olivia stared in surprise. "She does not usually do that," she whispered. Alexander looked down at the sleeping child and smiled softly. Maybe she just needed someone calm nearby. Olivia smiled for the first time that day. She did not know anything about the man sitting beside her. She did not know his name. She did not know his success. She did not know that the stranger holding her sleeping daughter was someone whose face appeared on business covers around the world. To her, he was simply a kind person who helped during a difficult moment. And to Alexander, something about this ordinary interaction felt different. He had spent years surrounded by people who wanted something from him. Opportunities, connections, influence. But this woman wanted nothing. She was simply grateful. As the airplane continued through the clouds, two strangers from completely different worlds sat beside each other. One was a mother carrying the weight of responsibility. The other was a CEO who had everything except a reason to slow down. Neither of them knew that this quiet flight would become the beginning of a story neither could have imagined. The moment Emma fell asleep in Alexander Carter's arms became a memory neither of them expected to carry beyond the flight. To Olivia Bennet, it was simply a rare moment of relief. A stranger had helped her during a difficult afternoon, and she was grateful. She never imagined that the calm man sitting beside her was someone whose name appeared on financial reports and business headlines around the world. After the flight landed, Olivia carefully gathered her bags while Emma remained peacefully asleep. She looked toward Alexander with a small smile. "Thank you again," she said. "I do not know what I would have done without your help." Alexander shook his head gently. "You were already doing everything right." Olivia looked surprised by his answer. Most people noticed when a child was difficult. Few people noticed the effort of the parent trying to make everything okay. "You have children?" she asked. Alexander looked away briefly before answering. "No." There was something quiet in his voice, a sadness Olivia noticed but did not question. "Then you are surprisingly good with them," she said. He smiled. "Maybe I just remember what it feels like when someone needs a little patience." The conversation was simple. There was no discussion about wealth, no mention of companies, no reason for Olivia to think this stranger was anything more than a kind person who happened to sit nearby. Before leaving, Alexander offered to help carry one of her bags through the airport. Olivia hesitated but accepted. She was used to doing everything alone, yet accepting a small kindness felt different. It did not feel like weakness. It felt human. As they walked through the terminal, Alexander noticed the details of her life. The carefully packed baby supplies, the small toys in her bag, the way she checked on Emma every few minutes even while talking. She was exhausted, but she never complained. "You do this every day?" he asked. Olivia smiled softly. "Something like that." "That sounds difficult." She looked at Emma sleeping peacefully. "It is, but she is worth it." Those words stayed with Alexander. He had spent years surrounded by people discussing value in numbers. Company value, market value, personal value. Yet this woman measured everything by love. Before they separated, Olivia thanked him one final time. "I hope life is kind to you," she said. Alexander smiled. "I hope life is kind to you too." Neither of them knew that their paths would cross again. Olivia returned to her normal routine. She went back to her small apartment, her work, and the endless responsibilities of motherhood. She never searched for Alexander. She never tried to find out who he was. To her, he was simply a stranger who offered kindness when she needed it most. Meanwhile, Alexander returned to a completely different world. The next morning, he entered the headquarters of Carter Global, where employees immediately began discussing meetings, investments, and future plans. The familiar rhythm of his life returned. But something felt different. His assistant noticed it first. "You seem distracted today," she said. Alexander looked up from his desk. "Do I?" She smiled slightly. "Yes, that is unusual." Alexander looked out the window toward the city below. He thought about the flight, about Olivia, about the little girl who had trusted him enough to fall asleep without fear. It was a small moment, but it stayed with him. For years, Alexander believed his life was exactly what he wanted. Success had given him freedom. Money had given him choices. His company had given him influence. But the quiet interaction on the airplane reminded him of something he had forgotten. People were not just names, schedules, or business connections. They were stories. They were feelings. They were moments. Later that week, Alexander attended a business event where executives discussed expansion plans and new investments. Everyone around him focused on growth. But Alexander found himself thinking about something else. He wondered how many people were quietly carrying responsibilities nobody noticed. He wondered how many parents were trying their best while feeling invisible. And somewhere across the city, Olivia looked at a photo of Emma sleeping peacefully after the flight and smiled. She still did not know the name of the stranger who helped her. She did not know his world. She did not know their brief meeting had affected him. But sometimes the most important connections begin before anyone understands why they matter. The flight ended, but the quiet connection between Olivia Bennett and Alexander Carter stayed with them longer than either expected. Neither of them understood why a simple moment could leave such a strong impression. Sometimes the smallest interactions reveal something people have forgotten about themselves. For Olivia, the flight was a reminder that she did not always have to carry everything alone. For Alexander, it was a reminder that life existed beyond schedules, meetings, and endless expectations. A few days later, Olivia returned to her normal routine. Her mornings began early. She prepared Emma's breakfast, packed her small bag, and organized her day around work and motherhood. Life was not easy, but Olivia had learned how to find happiness in simple things. A smile from her daughter, a quiet morning together, a peaceful evening after a long day. Those moments were enough. She never expected anything from the stranger on the airplane. She never searched for him. She never wondered about his life. To her, Alexander was simply a kind person who appeared when she needed help. Meanwhile, Alexander found himself thinking about the same flight more often than he wanted to admit. His business partners noticed his unusual quietness during meetings. He still made decisions quickly. He still handled complex negotiations. But something about him had changed. During one meeting, his friend and business advisor Daniel Foster noticed him staring at a family photo displayed on a nearby desk. "You seem distracted," Daniel said. Alexander looked up. "Do I?" Daniel smiled. "Yes, and that is rare." Alexander leaned back in his chair. "I met someone on my flight." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Someone important?" Alexander thought about Olivia's tired smile and Emma peacefully sleeping. "I am not sure." He paused. "But she reminded me of something." "What?" Alexander looked toward the window. "That people are more than what they can offer." Daniel understood the meaning behind those words. Alexander had spent years surrounded by people who wanted business opportunities or personal connections. Genuine kindness without expectation was rare in his world. Several weeks later, Alexander attended a charity event organized by Carter Global. The event focused on supporting young families and children in local communities. Normally, Alexander would appear briefly, deliver a prepared speech, and leave for his next obligation. But this time, he stayed longer. He listened to parents share their experiences. He watched children participate in activities. He noticed the same tired but determined expressions he had seen on Olivia's face. For the first time, the numbers in the reports felt different. They were not statistics. They were people. Later that evening, Alexander asked his assistant for more information about the programs his company supported. He wanted to understand the personal stories behind the projects. His assistant looked surprised. "You want the family profiles too?" she asked. Alexander nodded. "Yes, I want to know who we are helping." That question marked a change in the way he viewed his success. He had spent years building a company that reached millions of dollars in value. But now he wondered how much value existed in moments nobody measured. Across the city, Olivia was preparing Emma for bed. The little girl held a favorite toy and looked up at her mother. "Mommy," she said softly. The airplane man was nice. Olivia smiled. "Yes, sweetheart. He was." Emma hugged her toy. "I liked him." Olivia laughed gently. "I think he liked you too." She did not know that somewhere across the city, Alexander was thinking about that same little girl. He remembered the way Emma trusted him without hesitation. He remembered how peaceful she looked when she finally fell asleep. It was a small moment, a moment most people would forget. But for Alexander, it became a quiet reminder that maybe the most meaningful parts of life were not the ones people celebrated publicly. They were the moments shared when nobody was watching. Neither Olivia nor Alexander knew they would meet again. Neither knew their lives were slowly moving toward another unexpected encounter. But sometimes destiny does not arrive with a grand announcement. Sometimes it begins with a tired mother on a flight, a stranger offering kindness, and a child who felt safe enough to close her eyes. The memory of the flight remained with Alexander Carter, but he never expected that a few weeks later, the world would bring Olivia Bennett back into his life. It happened on an ordinary afternoon in the city. Alexander had just finished a meeting near a community center supported by Carter Global when he noticed a familiar face walking through the entrance. At first, he was not sure. The woman carrying a small bag and gently holding her daughter's hand looked familiar, but the moment felt impossible. Then Emma looked up and smiled. Alexander recognized her immediately. The same peaceful expression, the same curious eyes. The little girl from the airplane. "You," Alexander said quietly. Olivia turned around, surprised. For a moment, neither of them knew what to say. "I did not expect to see you again," Olivia said with a small smile. Alexander smiled back. "Neither did I." The reunion was simple. There were no dramatic words, no grand gestures, just two people who had shared a meaningful moment meeting again by chance. Alexander noticed Emma holding a small drawing in her hand. "Is that your artwork?" he asked. Emma nodded proudly. "I drew my mommy and me." Alexander smiled. "That is very good." Olivia watched the interaction carefully. She remembered how naturally Emma had trusted him during the flight. Children often sense things adults overlooked. They noticed kindness before titles. They felt warmth before understanding status. "We were just visiting the center," Olivia explained. "They have programs for families." Alexander looked around and nodded. "That is one of the projects my company supports." Olivia raised her eyebrows slightly. "Your company?" Alexander realized she knew nothing about him. He had never introduced himself beyond his first name. He had never mentioned his position. He liked that. For once, someone had met him without knowing his reputation. I work with the organization that helps manage this place, he said simply. Olivia smiled. That is wonderful. She did not ask more questions. She did not seem interested in his influence or success. That surprised him. Later that afternoon, Alexander learned more about Olivia's situation. Not because she complained. She never did. He discovered it through small details. The way she carefully checked prices before buying anything. The way she thanked every volunteer. The way she focused completely on Emma, even when she looked tired. He recognized that same quiet strength from the airplane. You do a lot on your own, Alexander said. Olivia smiled softly. Most parents do. Still, it cannot be easy. She looked at Emma playing nearby. Some things are difficult, but some things are worth every challenge. Alexander remembered those words. Worth every challenge. He had heard countless people talk about sacrifice in business. But Olivia spoke about it differently. She was not chasing recognition. She was protecting something she loved. Before they left, Alexander offered to walk them to their car. Olivia accepted this time without hesitation. The distance between them felt more comfortable now. They talked about simple things. Emma's favorite stories. Places they wanted to visit. The small moments that made everyday life meaningful. Alexander found himself enjoying a conversation without an agenda. No negotiations. No expectations. Just honesty. After Olivia drove away, Alexander stood outside for a few moments watching the car disappear down the street. Daniel Foster later asked him why he looked distracted. Alexander smiled slightly. I met someone again. Daniel raised an eyebrow. The woman from the flight? Alexander nodded. Yes. And Alexander thought about Olivia and Emma. She reminded me that some people have very little, but still give so much. Daniel understood. He had known Alexander for years. He knew how rare it was for something to truly capture his attention. Meanwhile, Olivia drove home with Emma sleeping in the back seat. She smiled when she looked at her daughter in the mirror. She still did not know Alexander's full identity. She still believed he was simply a kind stranger who had helped them during a difficult moment. But their lives had already started moving closer together. Two worlds that seemed completely different were slowly becoming connected. One built on success, the other built on love. And neither of them knew that this unexpected reunion was only the beginning of a story that would change everything. The truth about Alexander Carter's identity finally came out in the most unexpected way. Olivia Bennett had never searched for his name. She had never followed business news or paid attention to the faces on magazine covers. To her, Alexander was simply the man who helped her during a difficult flight and later treated her and Emma with genuine kindness. That changed when she walked into a small cafe near the community center and noticed a television playing in the background. A familiar face appeared on the screen. Carter Global CEO Alexander Carter announces a new family support initiative. Olivia froze for a moment. She looked at the screen, then back at Alexander, who was sitting across from her at the table. "That is you?" she asked quietly. Alexander looked slightly uncomfortable. He had hoped she would learn eventually, but he never wanted his position to change the way she saw him. "Yes," he admitted. Olivia stared at him, trying to understand. "You never told me." Alexander nodded. "Because I did not want you to see a title. I wanted you to see me." The answer surprised her. Many wealthy people she had met before, even briefly, carried their success like a shield. But Alexander had hidden it completely. He had helped her without expecting admiration. He had treated her like an equal when he had no reason to prove anything. "Why?" Olivia asked. Alexander looked thoughtful. "Because on that flight, you did not know who I was. You only knew how I treated you." Those words stayed with her. The revelation changed the situation, but it did not erase the kindness she had already experienced. Over the following weeks, Alexander and Olivia continued seeing each other through the community programs supported by Carter Global. Their conversations became easier. Their connection grew naturally. Alexander learned more about Olivia's life. He discovered that she had built everything around Emma's happiness. She worked long hours. She carefully planned every expense. She rarely allowed herself anything extra, but she never complained. One afternoon, Alexander saw Olivia quietly returning a book she wanted because she decided it was not necessary. It was a small moment, but it showed him how often she put herself last. "You know you are allowed to do something for yourself," he said. Olivia smiled. "Maybe one day." Alexander looked at her. "You always say that." She laughed softly. "Because there is always something more important." He understood that feeling. His own life had been the opposite. He had spent years putting work first, believing everything else could wait. In some ways, they were more similar than they realized. Both had forgotten how to make space for themselves. During another visit to the community center, Emma reached for Alexander's hand without hesitation. The simple gesture caught him off guard. Children did not care about company values or financial success. They cared about how someone made them feel. Emma trusted him because he was kind to her. That meant more than any business achievement. Olivia noticed the connection forming between them. She also noticed the change in Alexander. The man she met on the airplane was still there, but now she saw the person behind the calm expression. Someone who carried his own loneliness. Someone who had achieved everything except the feeling of being truly needed. "You are different from what I expected," Olivia said one evening. Alexander smiled. "Is that good or bad?" "Good," she answered. "I expected someone powerful to feel distant. But you do not." He looked toward Emma playing nearby. "Maybe I spent too long trying to become someone impressive and forgot to become someone present." Olivia understood those words. They came from a place deeper than business success. Before leaving that evening, Alexander thanked Olivia. "For what?" she asked. He smiled. "For reminding me that not every important thing has a price." Olivia looked at him quietly. She had entered his life as a stranger on a flight. She never expected anything from him. She never knew his wealth. She only knew his kindness. And perhaps that was exactly why their connection mattered. Because before she knew he was a billionaire CEO, she already knew he was a good person. After Olivia Bennett discovered Alexander Carter's true identity, she expected the relationship between them to change. She wondered if the knowledge of his wealth would create distance. She wondered if the simple connection they built would disappear beneath the weight of his success. But Alexander surprised her. He remained the same person she met on the airplane. The same patient man who helped Emma sleep. The same person who listened before speaking. The same stranger who offered kindness without expecting anything in return. One afternoon, Alexander invited Olivia and Emma to visit the headquarters of Carter Global. Olivia hesitated at first. The building represented everything different from her own life. Glass walls, private offices, employees moving quickly between meetings. It was a world she had never entered before. "I do not think I belong here," Olivia admitted quietly. Alexander looked at her. "Why?" She smiled slightly. "Because this is your world." He shook his head. "No, this is where I work. It is not who I am." Those words stayed with her. As they walked through the building, Olivia noticed something unexpected. Employees did not just respect Alexander because of his position. They respected him because he remembered their names. He asked about their families. He thanked people for their work. The billionaire CEO everyone saw in the news was not the complete person. There was a quieter side that only appeared when nobody was trying to impress him. Emma held Alexander's hand as they walked through the office. She stopped whenever she saw something interesting. A large painting, a colorful display, a model of a building. Alexander answered every question patiently. Olivia watched them together and smiled. She had seen many people with power become distant. But Alexander seemed different. His success had not removed his kindness. It had simply hidden it behind a title. Later, they sat in a small cafe near the office. Emma enjoyed a snack while Olivia and Alexander talked. "You really never wanted me to know who you were," Olivia said. Alexander shook his head. "No." "Why?" He looked thoughtful. "Because I like that you treated me like everyone else." Olivia smiled. "Most people probably do not do that." Alexander laughed softly. "Not often." He looked at Emma before continuing. "People usually see what I have built. They see the company, the money, the reputation. Very few people see me." Olivia understood. She had experienced the opposite. People often saw her struggles before they saw her. They noticed the challenges before noticing her strength. In different ways, both of them knew what it felt like to be judged by appearances. "Maybe that is why we understood each other," Olivia said. Alexander looked at her with curiosity. "What do you mean?" She smiled gently. "You were more than your success. I was more than my difficulties." The simple statement stayed with him. That evening, Alexander returned to his apartment and looked across the city lights. He had spent years building a life that impressed others. But Olivia had reminded him of something important. A meaningful life was not measured by how many people knew your name. It was measured by the people who felt better because you were there. Meanwhile, Olivia prepared Emma for bed. The little girl held her favorite toy and asked a question that made her mother pause. Will we see airplane friend again? Olivia smiled. I think we might. Emma nodded happily. She did not know about companies or wealth. She only remembered that Alexander made her feel safe. And sometimes, the purest understanding of a person comes from someone who knows nothing about their status. The days that followed brought more unexpected meetings between Olivia and Alexander. Their conversations became longer. Their trust became stronger. But neither of them rushed to define what was happening. They simply enjoyed the connection they had found. Two people from completely different worlds discovered that kindness could create a bridge where differences once seemed impossible to cross. As Olivia Bennett and Alexander Carter spent more time together, something unexpected began to happen. Their connection stopped feeling like a coincidence and started feeling like a quiet understanding between two people who had spent years carrying different kinds of responsibilities. They never rushed. They never forced anything. They simply allowed trust to grow naturally through small moments. Alexander continued visiting the community center, but now he looked forward to the days when Olivia and Emma were there. He noticed the way Olivia remembered everyone's names. He noticed how children naturally approached her because they felt safe around her. She had a way of making people feel important. It was something money could never create. One afternoon, Alexander watched Olivia help a young mother who was struggling to find resources for her child. Olivia did not offer empty promises. She listened. She shared advice. She reminded the woman that needing help did not mean she had failed. Alexander stood nearby and realized he had seen that same kindness from her since the first day on the airplane. She had not changed because of his wealth. She had not changed because of his attention. This was simply who she was. Later, Alexander asked her, "How do you stay so patient with everyone?" Olivia smiled. "Because I know what it feels like when people only see your problems." The answer stayed with him. In his world, people often judged others by success, reputation, and influence. But Olivia saw people differently. She saw their stories before their circumstances. That evening, Alexander invited Olivia and Emma to a quiet dinner. It was not at an expensive restaurant. It was a small family-owned place near the neighborhood where Olivia lived. She noticed immediately. "I thought someone like you would prefer somewhere more impressive," she said. Alexander smiled. "I spend enough time in impressive places." He looked around the simple restaurant. Sometimes the best moments happen somewhere ordinary. Emma enjoyed her meal while Alexander listened to every story she told. He laughed when she described her favorite toys and smiled when she explained her drawings. Olivia watched quietly. She had never seen someone with so much responsibility become so present in a simple conversation. After dinner, they walked outside beneath the evening lights. The city was peaceful. "You are different when you are not working," Olivia said. Alexander looked curious. "Different how?" "Happier." He smiled slightly. "Maybe because nobody here expects anything from me." Olivia understood. She knew what it felt like to be defined by a role. To others, she was the single mother trying to manage everything. To others, Alexander was the billionaire CEO who seemed to have everything. But beneath those labels were two people who simply wanted to be understood. The following week, Alexander faced a challenge at Carter Global. A major investment opportunity required him to focus almost every hour of his day. His advisors expected him to return to his old routine. Late nights, constant travel, endless meetings. It was the lifestyle that built his company. But this time, Alexander hesitated. He thought about Emma asking if they would see him again. He thought about Olivia's words about people being more than their struggles. For the first time, he questioned whether success meant sacrificing every other part of life. He eventually completed the project, but he changed the way he approached it. He trusted his team more. He created more balance. His employees noticed the difference. Daniel Foster noticed too. "You are changing," Daniel said. Alexander smiled. "Maybe I am finally learning." Meanwhile, Olivia noticed the change as well. Alexander was still successful, still driven, still respected, but he seemed more peaceful. He was no longer someone constantly chasing the next achievement. He was someone appreciating the moment he was in. One evening, as Emma fell asleep during a movie at home, Alexander gently covered her with a blanket. Olivia watched from across the room. The scene was simple. A child sleeping peacefully. A man who had once been a stranger sitting nearby. A mother seeing a kindness she never expected to find. She realized something important. Alexander was not becoming part of their lives because he wanted to save them. He was becoming part of their lives because he genuinely cared. And sometimes, the most meaningful relationships begin when nobody is trying to change the other person. They begin when two people simply see each other clearly. The connection between Olivia Bennet and Alexander Carter continued to grow through moments that neither of them expected. It was never built on grand promises or dramatic gestures. It grew through simple conversations, shared smiles, and the quiet understanding that formed whenever they were together. Alexander had spent years surrounded by people who admired his success, but Olivia was the first person in a long time who made him feel seen beyond his achievements. One afternoon, Alexander visited Olivia's neighborhood after she invited him to a small community gathering. It was far from the world he knew. There were no executives, no business discussions, no people trying to impress him. There were families sharing meals, children playing together, and neighbors helping each other. Alexander watched Olivia move through the crowd with natural warmth. Everyone knew her. Everyone trusted her. She did not have a title. She did not have a company behind her name. Yet people respected her because of the kindness she gave so freely. "You built something here," Alexander said as they walked through the neighborhood. Olivia smiled. "I did not build anything. People built this together." He looked at her. "That is exactly why you are different." She laughed softly. "Different?" Alexander nodded. "Most people talk about what they can achieve alone. You talk about what people can create together." Olivia looked away, slightly embarrassed by the compliment. She was not used to being recognized. She had spent years focusing on survival, making sure Emma had everything she needed. But Alexander saw something she rarely acknowledged in herself: strength. Later that evening, Alexander and Emma sat together while Olivia helped prepare dinner. Emma showed him a picture she had drawn at school. It showed 3 people standing under a bright sun. "Who is this?" Alexander asked. Emma pointed. "Mommy, me, and you." Alexander became quiet for a moment. The drawing was simple. A few colors, a few lines. But to him, it represented something he never expected to find. A place in someone's heart. "I like it," he said softly. Emma smiled. "You can keep it." Alexander carefully placed the drawing inside his wallet. It was a small action, but Olivia noticed. She understood that he was not pretending to care. He truly valued the little things. That night, after Emma went to sleep, Olivia and Alexander sat outside talking. The conversation slowly moved from everyday topics to deeper thoughts. "You seem happier lately," Olivia said. Alexander smiled. "I am. Because of your company?" He shook his head. "No." He looked toward the quiet street. "Because I finally realized I was spending so much time building a life that I was not actually living." Olivia understood that feeling. She had spent years putting herself last. Both of them had different reasons, but they had both forgotten what it meant to simply enjoy a moment. The following week, Alexander faced pressure from his business partners. They wanted him to accept a major international expansion opportunity that would require months of travel. It was the kind of opportunity he would have accepted immediately in the past. It represented growth, influence, and another achievement for Carter Global. But now he thought about Emma. He thought about Olivia. He thought about the ordinary moments that had become more valuable than any award. For the first time, Alexander questioned whether reaching higher always meant moving forward. He decided to restructure the plan. He remained involved, but allowed his trusted team to handle more responsibilities. Some executives were surprised. "This is not the Alexander we knew," one colleague said. Alexander smiled. Maybe that is the point. His decision showed Olivia something important. He was not simply saying he had changed. He was proving it through his choices. He was making room for the people who mattered. One evening, Olivia watched Alexander help Emma prepare for bed. He carefully arranged her favorite blanket and listened as she explained a story she had created. It was a small moment, almost invisible to the outside world. But Olivia saw the meaning behind it. The billionaire CEO who once seemed unreachable had become someone who valued presence over perfection. She realized Alexander was not trying to become a hero in their lives. He was simply becoming someone they could trust. And sometimes, the greatest changes happen quietly, not through wealth, not through power, but through the decision to show up when someone needs you most. The bond between Olivia Bennet and Alexander Carter continued to grow, but neither of them realized how much their lives had already begun to change. What started as a simple moment on an airplane had become something much deeper. A connection built not on wealth, status, or expectations, but on understanding. One morning, Olivia arrived at the community center with Emma and found Alexander already there. He was helping volunteers organize supplies for families. She smiled when she saw him. "I thought people like you had assistants for everything." Alexander laughed softly. "I do." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Then why are you here carrying boxes?" He looked at the supplies in his hands. "Because sometimes it is important to remember the reason behind the work." Olivia understood. Alexander was not trying to appear generous. He genuinely wanted to be involved. That difference mattered. During the afternoon, Olivia watched him interact with families. He listened to their concerns. He remembered small details. He treated everyone with the same respect he showed executives in his company. It reminded her of the man she met on the airplane. The person behind the success had always been there. It had simply taken time for others to see him. Later, while Emma played nearby, Alexander and Olivia sat together outside the center. "Can I ask you something?" Alexander said. Olivia nodded. "Of course. How did you stay so strong all these years?" Olivia looked surprised. "I do not always feel strong." Alexander smiled. "You seem like you are." She looked toward Emma. "I just did what I had to do." Her answer was simple, but Alexander knew there was more behind it. He had seen enough people with power to understand the difference between confidence and strength. Confidence often came from success. Strength came from continuing even when nobody noticed. "You never asked anyone for help," he said. Olivia smiled slightly. "Maybe I was afraid of needing it." Alexander understood that feeling more than he expected. In his world, asking for help was often seen as weakness. But now he realized that carrying everything alone was not always a sign of strength. Sometimes allowing people to stand beside you was the brave choice. That evening, Alexander invited Olivia and Emma to a small family event organized by Carter Global. Olivia almost refused. She worried she would not fit into his world. But Alexander assured her, "It is not my world. It is just a room full of people." When they arrived, Olivia noticed something unexpected. Nobody treated her differently because of her simple clothes or her quiet personality. Alexander introduced her with genuine respect, not as someone he was helping, not as someone from a different background, simply as Olivia. Throughout the evening, Emma happily talked with Alexander. She showed him drawings, asked questions, and laughed at his attempts to understand her favorite games. Olivia watched from a distance and felt something she had not allowed herself to feel in years. Relief. For so long, she had worried about protecting Emma from disappointment. But now she saw someone who wanted to be part of their lives for the right reasons. After the event, Alexander walked them to their car. "Thank you for coming," he said. Olivia smiled. "Thank you for making us feel welcome." He looked at Emma, who was holding his hand before saying goodbye. The small gesture meant more than she realized. After they left, Alexander remained standing outside for a few moments. Daniel later asked him why he looked so thoughtful. Alexander smiled. "Because I think I finally understand something." "What?" Daniel asked. Alexander looked toward the road where Olivia's car had disappeared. "I spent years building a company because I wanted to create something meaningful. But maybe meaning was never about what I built. Maybe it was about who I could be for someone else." Across the city, Olivia placed Emma's favorite toy beside her bed and thought about the unexpected kindness that entered their lives. She still did not know where this connection would lead. But she knew one thing. Alexander Carter was no longer just the stranger from the airplane. He had become someone who brought peace into a life that had carried too much responsibility alone. And sometimes, the most beautiful beginnings happen when two people stop looking for what they can gain and simply appreciate what they have found. The relationship between Olivia Bennett and Alexander Carter reached a moment neither of them expected. It was no longer just about a stranger helping a tired mother on a flight. It had become about two people discovering that their lives had more in common than they first believed. They came from different worlds, but both understood what it felt like to carry responsibilities quietly. One afternoon, Alexander invited Olivia to a private meeting at Carter Global. He wanted her opinion on a new project focused on helping families build better opportunities. Olivia was surprised. "Why are you asking me?" she said. Alexander looked at her seriously. "Because you understand the people we are trying to help." She smiled slightly. "I am not a business expert." Alexander shook his head. "Maybe not in the traditional way. But you understand something many experts do not." "What is that?" she asked. "What people actually need." Olivia became quiet. She had spent years believing her struggles made her less qualified. Now someone who led a billion-dollar company was telling her that her experiences had value. During the meeting, Olivia shared ideas based on what she had seen in her own life. She talked about parents who needed flexible support. She talked about children who needed encouragement. She talked about how small acts of kindness could create confidence. The executives listened carefully. At first, some were surprised that a mother with no corporate background had such clear insight. But as the conversation continued, they realized something important. Olivia was not speaking from theory. She was speaking from experience. After the meeting, Alexander walked with her through the office. "You know, you changed the entire direction of that discussion," he said. Olivia laughed softly. "I just shared what I know." Alexander smiled. "That is exactly why it mattered." Later that week, Alexander faced pressure from his board members. They wanted him to focus on expanding the company internationally and reduce time spent on community projects. They believed his attention should remain on business growth. Years earlier, Alexander would have agreed immediately. He would have chosen the path that created the biggest numbers. But now he thought differently. He remembered Emma's smile. He remembered Olivia saying that people were more than their circumstances. He realized that success without purpose felt incomplete. During the board meeting, Alexander explained his decision. "Growth matters," he said. "But the reason we grow matters too." Some executives questioned whether his priorities had changed. Alexander answered calmly, "They have." The honesty surprised them. He was no longer trying to prove that he could build the biggest company. He was trying to build something meaningful. Meanwhile, Olivia noticed the change in him. Alexander was still ambitious, still respected, still capable of making difficult decisions. But he was no longer controlled by the need to achieve more. He seemed calmer, more present, more human. One evening, Olivia and Alexander took Emma to a small park near their neighborhood. Emma ran ahead while they walked slowly behind her. "You really changed," Olivia said. Alexander smiled. "I think I finally remembered what mattered." She looked at him. "What changed your mind?" He watched Emma laughing as she played. A little girl falling asleep on an airplane. Olivia laughed softly. "That sounds impossible." "It does," he admitted. "But sometimes the smallest moments show us what we have been missing." They stood quietly watching Emma enjoy the afternoon. There was no pressure, no business discussion, no expectations, just a peaceful moment. Later that night, Alexander returned home and looked at the small drawing Emma had given him. It was still inside his wallet. A simple picture created by a child who knew nothing about his company or his reputation. She only knew he was kind. And somehow, that meant more than everything else. Across the city, Olivia looked at her own life and realized something had changed too. She had spent years believing she had to handle everything alone. But now she understood that accepting kindness did not make her weaker. Sometimes allowing someone to stand beside you was another form of strength. Neither Olivia nor Alexander knew exactly where their connection would lead. But they both understood one thing. The most valuable moments in life were rarely the ones people planned. They were the unexpected ones that quietly changed everything. The small moments between Olivia Bennett and Alexander Carter slowly became the memories they valued most. Neither of them could point to one exact day when everything changed. There was no single dramatic moment. Instead, their connection grew through countless quiet choices. A conversation after a long day. A smile across the room. A child laughing while two very different people discovered they understood each other. Alexander continued to be part of Olivia and Emma's lives, but he never tried to take control. He understood something important. He was not there to replace the years he missed. He was there to create new memories. One weekend, Olivia invited Alexander to join them for a simple day at a local park. It was not a place where anyone would recognize a billionaire CEO. There were families having picnics, children playing, and people enjoying an ordinary afternoon. Alexander appreciated that. He had spent years attending exclusive events where everyone knew his name. But here, nobody cared about his company. Nobody cared about his wealth. They only cared about the person standing beside them. Emma ran toward him holding a small flower she had found. "This is for you," she said. Alexander smiled and accepted it carefully. "Thank you. I will keep it safe." Olivia watched the moment quietly. She noticed how seriously he took even the smallest gestures from Emma. He did not treat her kindness as something insignificant. He valued it. Later, they sat together under a large tree while Emma played nearby. "You know," Olivia said, "I never imagined my life would look like this." Alexander looked at her. Is that a good thing? She smiled. Yes, just unexpected. Alexander understood that feeling. His entire life had been built around plans and goals. Yet the most meaningful part of his life had arrived without a plan at all. A tired mother, a sleeping child, a simple act of kindness. That evening, Alexander received an invitation to a major business conference. It was an event where the most influential leaders gathered to discuss the future of industries and investments. In previous years, Alexander would have considered it one of the most important nights of his career, but this time he hesitated. The event was scheduled on the same evening as Emma's school presentation. It was a difficult decision. His company expected him to attend. His team believed his presence would create valuable opportunities. But Alexander remembered something Olivia once said. People remember when you show up. After a few moments, he declined the conference invitation. Instead, he attended Emma's presentation. He sat among other parents, quietly watching as she stood in front of her class and shared her project. When she finished, she looked toward him with a proud smile. Alexander felt something he had rarely experienced in his professional life. A feeling of being exactly where he was supposed to be. Afterward, Olivia thanked him. You did not have to choose this. Alexander smiled. I know. Then why did you? He looked at Emma. Because some moments only happen once. Those words touched Olivia deeply. She knew Alexander was not just changing his schedule. He was changing his understanding of life. A few days later, Alexander faced questions from his business partners about his priorities. Some believed he was becoming too emotionally involved. They worried that personal choices would affect his leadership. Alexander listened carefully before responding. A person can be successful and still have values beyond success. His answer surprised them, but it reflected who he had become. He was still the same determined CEO. He still cared about his company. He still wanted to achieve great things. But now, he understood that achievement without connection felt empty. Meanwhile, Olivia found herself changing too. For years, she believed independence meant never needing anyone. Alexander showed her that allowing someone to care was not a weakness. It was trust. One evening, as Emma fell asleep while watching a movie, Olivia and Alexander sat quietly nearby. They watched their daughter resting peacefully and shared a smile. Neither of them said anything. They did not need to. They both understood the same truth. Sometimes life brings people together in the most unexpected ways. Sometimes a stranger becomes someone important. And sometimes the smallest moment, like a child finding comfort in another person's kindness, becomes the beginning of something far greater than anyone imagined. The journey that began with a single moment on an airplane had become something neither Olivia Bennett nor Alexander Carter could have predicted. What started as a stranger offering comfort to a tired mother slowly transformed into a connection built on trust, kindness, and understanding. But the most meaningful part was not how different their lives appeared. It was how much they had learned from each other. Alexander continued to support Carter Global while keeping the values he had discovered close to his heart. The company remained successful, but his reasons for success had changed. He no longer wanted to build something impressive just for the world to see. He wanted to create something meaningful for the people who depended on it. Olivia became an important voice in several family support programs. She never considered herself a leader. She simply shared what she knew. She understood the challenges parents faced because she had lived them. She understood the importance of being seen because she had experienced the opposite. One afternoon, Alexander attended a community event where Olivia was speaking with families. He stood quietly in the background and watched her. She did not command attention. She earned it through sincerity. People listened because they trusted her. After the event, Alexander approached her with a smile. You know you have a gift, he said. Olivia laughed softly. I am just talking to people. He shook his head. That is exactly the gift. She looked at him curiously. What do you mean? Alexander smiled. You make people feel like they matter. Olivia became quiet. Those words meant more than he knew. For years, she had focused on taking care of others. She rarely considered the impact she had beyond her own small world. But Alexander saw it clearly. That evening, Olivia and Alexander took Emma to a small neighborhood festival. There were simple decorations, local food stands, and children playing games. It was not a glamorous event. It was not the kind of place where Alexander usually spent his time. Yet he felt more comfortable there than at many exclusive gatherings. Emma held his hand while walking through the crowd. Olivia watched them with a smile. She remembered the airplane. The moment when Emma had fallen asleep in the arms of someone they did not know. It felt impossible that such a small moment had created so much change. Later, while Emma enjoyed a dessert, Olivia and Alexander talked quietly. "Do you ever think about that first day?" Olivia asked. Alexander smiled. "More often than you realize. I never expected anything to happen. Neither did I." He looked toward Emma. "But maybe that was why it mattered." Olivia nodded. There was something special about moments without expectations. They were honest. They revealed who people truly were. A few weeks later, Alexander surprised Olivia by inviting her and Emma to the opening of a new family center created through Carter Global. The building was modern, but the purpose was simple. It was a place where families could find support, resources, and encouragement. When Alexander spoke at the opening ceremony, he did not talk about profits or achievements. He talked about people. "The most important investments are not always financial," he said. "Sometimes the greatest impact comes from showing someone that they are not alone." Olivia listened from the audience. She knew those words were not just part of a speech. They came from experience. After the ceremony, Alexander handed Emma a small gift. It was a simple notebook for her drawings. "For your next stories," he said. Emma smiled. "I will draw one about you." Alexander laughed. "I would like that." Olivia watched the moment with warmth in her heart. She realized something had changed. Alexander was no longer just a stranger who helped her during a flight. He was someone who had become part of their lives through patience and genuine care. And Alexander understood something too. The greatest moments of his life did not happen inside a boardroom or during a business victory. They happened in quiet places. A plain seat beside a tired mother. A child's trusting smile. A simple conversation where someone finally saw him for who he truly was. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes. And sometimes, the person who enters your life as a stranger becomes the person who reminds you what truly matters. Years later, Olivia Bennett still remembered the day her daughter fell asleep in the arms of a stranger on an airplane. At the time, she thought it was only a small moment of kindness during a difficult day. She never imagined that moment would become the beginning of a completely different life. Alexander Carter remembered it too. But what mattered most was not how they met. It was everything they built afterward. Their lives had changed because two people from different worlds chose to see each other beyond appearances. Olivia never became someone who depended on Alexander's wealth. She remained the same person he met on the flight. Caring, humble, strong. Alexander never wanted her to become impressed by his success. He wanted her to know the person behind the title. Together, they created something neither expected. A relationship built on trust. A family built on patience. A future built on understanding. One evening, years after their first meeting, Olivia and Alexander returned to the same airport where their story began. They were there to welcome a group of families arriving for a new community program supported by Carter Global. As they walked through the terminal, Olivia smiled. "It feels strange being back here." Alexander looked around. "I know." She laughed softly. "Do you ever think about that day?" He smiled. "All the time." They stood near the same area where they first met. The place looked completely ordinary. Travelers walked by. Announcements echoed through the building. Nothing about it seemed special, but they knew better. Sometimes the most important moments happen in places where nobody expects them. Emma, now older, walked beside them holding her mother's hand. She looked around curiously. "This is where we met." Alexander smiled. "This is where everything started." Olivia looked at him. A stranger helping a tired mother. Alexander nodded. And a child reminding someone what really matters. They all smiled. Later that evening, Alexander attended a company celebration where employees gathered to recognize the impact of Carter Global's community programs. Many expected him to talk about growth and success. Instead, Alexander spoke about a different kind of achievement. "Years ago, I believed success meant building something everyone could see," he said. "But I learned that the most valuable things are often the ones nobody notices at first." The audience listened quietly. A kind word. A moment of patience. A decision to help someone without expecting anything in return. Those moments may seem small, but they can change a person's entire life. Olivia watched from the audience with Emma beside her. She knew exactly what he meant. After the event, Alexander joined them outside beneath the evening sky. The city lights reflected around them as they stood together. "Do you think we would have found each other another way?" Olivia asked. Alexander thought for a moment. Maybe. He smiled. But I am glad it happened the way it did. Olivia looked at Emma and then at Alexander. Me too. Their story had never been about a billionaire saving someone who needed help. It had never been about wealth or status. It was about two people discovering that kindness could connect lives that seemed completely different. A mother who needed a moment of support. A CEO who needed a reminder that life was more than achievement. A child who brought two worlds together without even knowing it. The airplane was only the beginning. The real story was everything that came after. Because sometimes a stranger becomes family. Sometimes a simple act of kindness becomes a life-changing connection. And sometimes the smallest moments become the ones we remember forever.